Welcome to the English with Kirsty podcast from www.englishwithkirsty.com. Here I'll be sharing with you tips, information and other learning resources so that you can improve your business English. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of the English with Kirsty podcast, and that means that next week is episode 50, and that means that you still have time to let me have your stories about feeling proud or happy about something you did in another language. So if you want to do that, that would be really good. I've had some already, but it would be great to have some more. So if you want to share your stories with me, it doesn't have to be long. Then head on over to the show notes page, which is www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast/episode 49. And there you can tell me about your stories there. So the last couple of weeks have been more about strategies for getting things done. So 2 weeks ago we had the episode about staying motivated and what to do when you don't feel very motivated, and last week we were talking about staying accountable, so making sure that you have your goals but that you also have a plan so that you can reach them. And if you're interested in either of those things, you can go back and listen to those two episodes. But this week we are doing something different. We are looking at some vocabulary again, so it's an idioms episode. And the idioms that we're looking at today all have something to do with food or eating or kitchens or something like that. So we've got 13 of them, and I'm going to go through them and explain a bit about them. And I do this not so that you can try and build loads of idioms into your speech, but mainly so that you can understand them, because sometimes if people use one of these phrases, then it's not always clear what they mean if you haven't seen it before. So number one is a piece of cake. If something's a piece of cake, it's really easy. And sometimes you don't think the thing will be really easy. Sometimes it's, I really worried about the exam, but it was a piece of cake. You know, it was something that didn't take much effort. It was really easy to do. So that's a piece of cake. Number two is to be as cool as a cucumber. It means that you're really calm, really not flustered at all. And sometimes it's when you don't expect them to be. So, for example, everything went wrong in the presentation, the technology didn't work, the heating was broken, but he stayed as cool as a cucumber and just got the job done. So in a situation where you would expect someone to be all stressed out and rushing around, they didn't. They just stayed really calm and relaxed. So they were as cool as a cucumber. Number three, to go bananas. This can have several meanings. It can be to go be annoyed, like really angry. Sometimes it just means to be really kind of full of energy and happy, but usually I would say it means that somebody's not very happy about something. So they find out something that's bad news, that there's no budget left and it's only partway through the year, and they went bananas because all the money had been spent. So number four, a watched kettle never boils. And this means that it's like the expression to watch paint dry. If you are waiting for something to happen, it will take a ridiculously long time. So if you're waiting for the kettle to boil, it will feel as though it's taking a long time, even though you know the kettle takes the same amount of time every time it boils. If you're waiting for something, perhaps you're waiting for some news or waiting for an important answer from somebody, it will feel like it's taking much longer. Number five, that's more common. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I don't know, if you're going to do some advertising or something, don't just rely on one place to do the advertising, because they could change their rules. They could not allow your advert and then you don't have any. But if you spread it across a number of places and find out what works and don't rely entirely on one place to advertise, then you'll be in a better position if something goes wrong. So you're not relying entirely on one company or one service. You spread it out, so if something goes wrong, you're safe. You're in a safer position. Number 6, to eat humble pie. So basically it just means you have to admit that you were wrong. and say, okay, I made a mistake, or I was wrong about this, and then someone has to eat humble pie. Number 7, if you're a fish out of water, you feel out of place. Maybe you're in a room with people who all work in the same industry and you don't understand anything that they're talking about, and it feels uncomfortable because you feel that you don't belong there. So you're like a fish out of water, because the fish belongs in the water. So if you're a fish out of water, you're somewhere that you don't belong and you don't feel good about it. Number 8, to take something with a pinch of salt means you don't believe it. Somebody maybe always exaggerates. They always tell you that they did better than they really did. So when they come up and say something else really good has happened to you, yeah, okay, whatever. You don't believe it entirely because you know that this person has a reputation for not telling the truth. So you take it with a pinch of salt. You maybe don't outright disbelieve them, but you don't entirely believe them either. Number 9, that comes up quite often as well. To have too much on your plate basically means to have too much to do. So if you have too much on your plate, you feel like literally have too much on your plate. You can't eat it all because there's too much food there. If you have too much to do, you just think that you won't have time, or you won't be able to do everything you have to do. And sometimes it's not an admission that you can't do it, it just means you can't take any more on. You've already got enough on your plate, so you can't take any more tasks, or you can't commit your time to do anything else because you already have too much to do. Number 10, chalk and cheese. I don't know where this expression came from, apart from both of the words begin with a CH sound, but you don't eat chalk, you do eat cheese, and they are completely different. So if two people are like chalk and cheese, they are complete opposites, completely different. Number 11, the icing on the cake. So cake is good, icing is even better. So the icing on the cake makes a good thing even better. So I don't know, you may get some good news and then some more good news on top of that, and that is the icing on the cake, the thing that made it even better. Number 12, to walk on eggshells. If you walk on eggshells, they will break because eggshells are really fragile. And we use this when we feel that we are trying really hard not to offend or upset someone, going out of your way not to say anything wrong, not to do anything that might offend someone. And it's not a comfortable way to be if you're walking on eggshells. And it's usually something you would try to avoid. It's usually around people who are easily offended or who take things the wrong way. Or it could be there's been an argument, and in the time after the argument, everybody is being a bit careful because they don't want to fan the flames again. They don't want the argument to start again. So it could be because of someone who is generally quite difficult and who gets offended all the time, or it could be there is a situation that's already quite tense and difficult and you don't want to make that situation worse. And number 13 is to have bigger fish to fry. So that basically just means that you've got bigger things to worry about. It's, I'm not going to waste time on this. I've got bigger fish to fry means this is not my priority. I have more important things to do, and therefore I'm not going to get involved with this or comment on this or even deal with this because I have other things to do. Okay, so I will list these 13 food idioms on the show notes page so you can have a look at them. And I've put a couple of examples in there as well. You can have a look at those. And if you want to see those, again, it's www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast/episode 49. And of course, you can give me your stories there for celebrating success next week. That would be great. And I will also link to the Facebook group because we have some training coming up, some free training. So if you're listening to this in June 2016, on the 30th of June, there will be some training in the Facebook group, live video training about understanding people, and when you find it difficult to understand your English-speaking colleagues and customers, whether that's literally to understand what they're saying or to understand what they mean. So if you want to take part in the training, you need to be in the Facebook group because the information there is only visible to members. So I'll also add the link to the Facebook group on the show notes page. and that will be on Thursday the 30th of June, 6 o'clock English time, 7 o'clock Central European time, so Germany, Switzerland, Austria, everywhere that is an hour ahead of us in England. And if you can't make it, then there will be a recording after the event. And so, yeah, that's all I wanted to say this week. If you want to get every episode of the English with Kirsty podcast, then why not subscribe to the podcast so you don't have to look for it and you won't miss anything. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So have a good week and have fun learning English. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the English with Kirsty podcast. If you have any questions or comments, my email address is kirsty@englishwithkirsty.com, or you can go to www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast, where you'll find information about the individual episodes.